Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to continue working on our Land Rover Series 2A, putting our Mercruiser engine with a Scotty adapter in. So today we're going to actually install the flywheel, clutch, the Scotty adapter itself, a dust guard, and put the engine in for the final time. I'm going to show you a little bit of the engine mounts. You have to put one side on before the other side, and you'll see that in the video or whatever. But if you're watching these videos, I screwed up. If you're watching them in order according to upload date, the last video with the oil and the alternator should have been after I installed the engine. But nobody noticed it, so I guess it's a-okay, right? But thank you guys for watching, liking and subscribing. Your comments are always positive and always awesome because you guys, well, basically are awesome. So let's go and get the final parts on this engine and get it into the truck for the last time. Hopefully this is the last time I ever have to take the engine out. Fingers crossed. So thank you very much. I'll see you at the end of the video. All right, Mercruiser engine, it's ready to be put in. So we're going to be putting the Scotty adapter on in the clutch and the flywheel. So here's the Scotty adapter. We got the Chevy pattern on this side, Land Rover pattern on this side. So, and we got 1.5" bolts that bolt the Scotty adapter to the engine, to the GM engine. And then I also made a dust shield down here. So normally the Chevy engine, you could see it just only goes to the half of this whole flywheel here. Not flywheel, but it only goes in. So here's the pattern and it stops right here. So the bottom's all open where the starter is, and it just sits open. So what I did is I made a dust shield. Scotty adapter actually never came with a heat shield. So I made one, and it's just kind of goes to the bottom here, goes around the crank and goes around the starter and goes over here. And I made 3 tabs on the outside going around, and what I did is I drilled and tapped the aluminum for 1/4 bolts, so I can bolt it on to be a dust shield here, so it's not getting any weather or anything. I would like to actually put some sealant around the top, but once I put everything on, I don't think I'm going to be able to reach up inside to here, but I'll give it a try. But I don't think it's going to happen. So okay, so we got our adapter here. Now we got our flywheel. That was machined. We talked about that in the other video. It was machined down to the correct thickness. Not the correct thickness for my engine, but hopefully it'll be for your engine. So here's our shim that we're going to be using on our flywheel to move it up closer so it gets within spec of Land Rover spec. What do we got? Then we have, let's go, here's our clutch. Our diesel clutch that we're reusing on the Chevy flywheel. Our clutch disc that we're going to reuse because it's already has the bolt pattern on it. Then to mount the flywheel, we're going to be using ARP bolts here. And it came with what to torque it to and the instructions. And for the clutch, also I forgot to mention that here's the ARP bolts. And you can see there's a little step on the end of them. So the thread here goes the whole way through for the bolt. But I have it counterboard here, so it'll actually go down in a little bit, and it kind of uses it's a high strength bolt, but it also kind of uses the step here to kind of keep your clutch in alignment around instead of the dowel pins that Land Rover uses. So we got those and instructions on how to torque it, and also the fancy dancy pilot clutch pilot tool. We'll be using that. And here's our pilot bushing, which I'm going to go through in the freezer now. And now we're going to start installing the pieces and parts onto the engine. I'll be back. So the first thing we'll be putting in is the pilot bushing. I put this in the freezer for a little bit. Take that and tap it to get it started. Then I'll use a piece of wood. All right, pilot bushing is now in. It's in there pretty tight. I hit it with a sledgehammer, so it's in there pretty tight. And I put it flush with it, but it could probably be a little bit sticking out. It wouldn't hurt nothing. So it's probably, either way, it's gonna, within our measurements, it should be okay, even if it's flush with it, because this isn't as thick as the one that I kind of wanted to use, but it's good enough for what we're doing. So the next thing will be the flywheel. So we got our shim. And then the shim, actually, I had to clean up the inside of here because it was such a snug fit trying to go around the edge. So I actually had to clear that out a little bit. There you go, there's our shim. Grab our flywheel. Even though we don't have the dowel that goes in, I'm going to line everything up with the dowel where it would be. And you can see it on there. There's also a dowel hole. I'm just going to throw one bolt in just to keep it in place and to line everything up, just so it doesn't fall out. But even with the shim, the starter looks like it's not going to do anything with the teeth itself when the starter pops out, because that shim kind of pushes it out a little further, but I think it should be fine with the starter. Okay, so ARP says put a little bit of the grease around the head of the bolt there. And then put Loctite onto the threads. No grease on the threads. Okay, I'm going to get all the rest of these in and torque them down. Alright, so we got our flywheel on, and in order to torque this down to 75 foot-pounds, I had to put a bolt in here and put in this and hold it, so then I could torque it down while I was going around on it, because it kept on wanting to spin. So that's the closest to a lock I got. So next thing I'm going to do is the clutch. So per what we all should be doing is wiping off all the grease and the dirt from our fancy flywheel that's been cleaned. So there's no grease at all. Then we take our fancy pilot tool, put it through. See, it goes right through there. Fits perfect, a wood dowel. Goes right inside. Holds it straight. Right there. Yeah, see that? Then we'll give this a cleaning. Let me give this a good cleaning before I put this back on. I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back. I took the glaze off of the, cleaned it up and got the glaze off of the pressure plate here. So I'm going to get this hung. Okay, I got one in there. Just to hold it. So according to our instructions, it says 25 foot-pounds. So I'm going to continue putting these on with some grease in the washer and hook it up, and I'll be right back. So we got the clutch mounted on, all torqued down all the way around, and you just kind of do a crisscross pattern on that until it gets down tight so it squeezes your clutch plate evenly. So you take our guide, our pilot, our bushing. See, it slides out nice and easy, our guide here. So that's good, so we're nice and dead center onto there. Next thing is the adapter itself. That kind of just goes right on there. It's funny because you got to put on the flywheel first before you put the adapter on, because you can't get in there to hold the flywheel while you're torquing down the flywheel, not the bolts to go in. So you got to put the adapter on after. So that. So we'll put all the bolts in here. These are all the same size bolts that go around the inside here. Alright, so I'm going to put all these bolts in, and I'm just going to crank them down real tight because they're pretty big bolts and there's no torque spec for them or anything. So I'm just going to tighten them down real nice and tight. So I'll be back. Now the adapter's on and tightened up. The last piece is our dust shield, which is going to go up underneath down here. So all that is just 3 bolts that I cut down, and they're about a 1/2 inch long, 1/4-20s. So I'm going to go underneath and put these on down underneath, and I'll be back. So I got the heat shield on. That was a bit of a pain in the butt because I didn't make the holes perfectly straight. So that's kind of a pain in the butt to get on, but it's on there nice and snug and tight. So we got the clutch on here. We got everything on here. So I think we're ready to install this back in for the last time to have it into the truck. So let's hook her up to the hoist and we'll stick her in. And I always have a hard time getting the splines to line up on transmissions, but we'll give her a try. We'll get her in there. We'll see how easy it goes. Also, before you install it, if you're doing it the same way I am, is don't forget to install your oil adapter right here, which I talk about that in another video. So don't forget to install that. And I install this mount here. When I test fitted the engine, this mount went in. I left this mount on. Actually, I left them both on. This is the other side mount here. I left them both on, but I couldn't get it in with this mount on. So I took this mount off, and I could still get the engine in with this mount, but we'll see how it goes with actually the clutch on there and with everything on the adapter on there. So we're going to go install this, install the engine, and also this here, in order to fit the adapter on there, which I've talked about in another video. I actually had to cut a notch here that follows the shape of the oil adapter. So I'm going to get out the engine hoist and we'll hook it up and we'll put her in. Okay, I think we're in. So I'm going to put some nuts on the flywheel over there. Not the flywheel, the bell housing. I say that every single time, but it's the bell housing. I'm gonna go put some bolts on. All the nuts are now on the bell housing. So it's in there and it's pushed in. I pushed the clutch pedal to the arm over there, and we seem like we have some good play up and down. So it's not pushing against the clutch or anything. So I think the clutch is a-okay. So like I stated before, you can leave this mount in, and you can see I wanted to show you before I drop it. So right now, we're sitting right above the stud on here. So we're sitting right above it. So this isn't sitting on it right now. So we got clearance, and we can fit it over there. So, but over here, see, there's not much room over here at all to even get the mount in. But once you lower it down, you'll see, I'll lower this side down, and then we'll have space to put the mount in over here. Okay, I'm gonna lower it down onto the mount there. Okay, need a little adjustment. Move the mount around. It lines up with the hole now. Now I'll lower it down onto the mount. There we go. So we're on that mount, but we still kept tension on the chain here, just to keep a little pressure on it, so it doesn't go down completely. Take your bolts out first. Okay, so now you can take your mount, come in here, push the engine over a little bit, get you some adjustment. There you go. Oh, went down too far. There you go. Now you can put it on the mount right here. See how it fits in there? But put one of the front ones in. Start the other one. Then we'll get the one underneath, down underneath. If you can see me doing that, I don't know. Okay, so then we tighten up these bolts. Tighten them all up. So you still got play because you can see it moving the whole engine, because it's still kind of it's still hanging from the hoist up here. Even if you move it up a little, give you a little bit more play. Okay, here we go. So we got that mount in and the other mount's on. So now we can lower the engine. All right, so now we can take the pressure off the hoist. And there you go. The engine's now in. It's in its final resting point. It's in there now. I just got to put the nuts and washers on the top of the rubber mounts. And I got to tighten the bottom of this mount here, because I left it loose so we could wiggle it to get it into the mount here. So that worked out good. All the mount bolts are tight on the engine, so that's good. And like I said, all the bell housing bolts, they're in there, or nuts, they're in there. So the engine's in. So that's officially in there now. So the exciting part now is going to be getting the cooling and the oil and fuel, everything else hooked up now. Here's a little look around the engine while it's in the engine compartment, and it fits in there really nicely. I'm really surprised how nice it fits. So I think she's in the final location, and I don't plan on taking the engine back out again anytime soon unless we really have some problems. Fingers crossed it isn't. So give her old thumbs up and let's roll. Well, we got the engine in, so we're already way ahead of the game. So the next video will be something on the engine. I'm not sure what it is. But like I said before, I already got the oil and the alternator hooked up. So the next video would be, probably would be the cooling, I would imagine. So keep an eye out for that one. Thank you for hanging around to the end of the video. I appreciate you, and you're awesome. And stay awesome because you are awesome. All right, I'll see you guys later.